So, we left Australia. Let me just explain. So yeah, we left Australia. It's not forever. We're going back to Australia. But it's kind of funny because we already had this trip planned for work. It just so happened that this trip landed a month into us being in Australia and me moving to. I think it's been good because I knew it wasn't gonna be all at once. It was 1 month, then I'll go back. It's kind of like I can come back and do some of the things that I have been missing. So it's been helpful for me with the culture shock. I also got to be here for the 4th of July. If you don't already know, which you probably do, 4th of July is Independence Day. It's America's celebration of when it became a country. So for that day, we have a bunch of traditions we do. We do fireworks.
Put it in reverse, Terry! Put it in reverse! Oh, Lord!
We do a cookout with hot dogs, hamburgers, like chips, and a bunch of extra things. It's a cool thing for me to get to do. As I'm on YouTube, I actually noticed this thing that's happened a lot. I watch through YouTube of all the Australian people that are in Australia that are expats of wherever they're from. Since I'm making content for that, I want to see what's already out there. I don't want to repeat the same things, and I want to see what people have liked to see in the past and what people haven't liked to see in the past. I think a lot of expats from America specifically are really like ashamed of where they come from. They either just like completely bash American culture and society and politics and whatever they want to get into, or they just don't really talk about it and they just fully dive into Australia, which I love Australia. It has to be one of the best countries in the world. Again, limited experience. I don't like that. I don't like that some people just completely abandon the culture they're from. If you don't like it, that's okay. That's everyone's opinion. But if you're from there, there's gonna be things about you that are always tied to your home culture. So for me, this week's been cool because it's kind of a cool holiday to be able to be a part of, a cool celebration to be a part of as we're back. So I'm in Florida, and I thought it would be good while I'm in Florida to use this time to give my 1 month review. What are some things I've noticed? How am I feeling? What did I not expect? I want to kind of talk about as much of that as I can in this video today. First of all, before I get into it, I went to Florida and I spent 2.5 weeks in Florida, and I had work, and I thought I'd have enough time to record this video and kind of talk about this whole time. But it was 4th of July, and then there was work, and a lot of work stuff happened, and it just got so busy. And not only that, but 2 of my family members got COVID who were on the trip with me, and then my wife, Grace, got sick. So we've been spending our first week back just like trying to like recuperate. This video is being recorded much later, and that's why this video is taking so long to do. These are the 5 things that have stood out to me the most as I think about my first month here, and they should be thought out because I've had all this time. The first thing I've noticed about Australia in my first month being here is the food.
VEGEMITE goes on forever.
Inside every Cadburyland Yowie, there's a wildlife creature with a fact sheet that tells you all about it. Share the magic of Yowie power. New from Cadbury.
Where do I even begin? The food is just so different. It's not that it's not a bad thing. It's a good, I mean, in a lot of ways, it's a good thing. So in America, it's just a lot of like fast food, convenient food. But even more specifically in North Carolina, I had a lot of like Southern food. So like fried foods, different kinds of just like soul food, a lot of carbs, not a lot of like green foods, but also not just that it was Southern food, but it's just that we don't have that much variety in North Carolina where I'm from, or in the South, like as when it comes to like Asian food. So the biggest thing I've noticed is there's a huge diversity of food here. In Sydney specifically, I know for those who aren't in Sydney, I know like that's not the norm to have as much as we do here. I think in Australia in general, just because we're closer to Asian countries, there's a lot of Asian food here. So that's just been a big wake up call. Like my first week coming here, we went to an Indian place. It was like the best Indian food I've ever had in my life. And that was just like not too far away from my house, which again, that's because Sydney has a lot to offer, but just Australia in general has a lot of diversity in food, a lot of different things to try. There's a lot of like traditional Australian dishes that you have to try, which I'm gonna do a video on, so we don't have to get into that right now. But there's just so much. There's so much to just get used to with the food. Not only that, but I'm kind of a picky eater, so it's even tougher for me. It's a bigger adjustment for me to like switch all the way from the food I'm used to here. Number two, so the second thing that I think you have to get used to the most, or a big thing to get used to in Australia, is the vocabulary.
Goon, a Sheila, going off, lollies, pommy.
This is something you already know, but it's just more true than you could ever know. There's just so many times where I just have no idea what's being said, and I'm trying to use context. And if Grace wasn't there with me to just like tell me what it is just then, I probably would be asking the question like, what does that mean? Quite often. It starts to be really apparent when you're like ordering food or you're on the phone with like customer service, just like doing just normal daily stuff. There's just so many words that are like thrown out there. One of the big ones that I didn't really understand was a thing at all, and this is just like a very small one, is how Australians say like ta. Like when you say thanks to someone, they say oh ta. I didn't understand what that meant at all. And so I went into that completely blind. And so when I would say thank you, someone would say ta, I'd be like,
what is ta?
What does that even mean? And there's like a million of those. Not only are there different like slang words that Aussies use, but there's like all these words for certain things that we don't use that are just like, they're just different for whatever reason. But it's not slang, it's just what they call it. Third thing is the coffee.
Our adults drink cappuccinos, our babies drink baby chinos.
Not only is it different here, so like the coffee's different, there's just different like traditions, there's different flavors, different drinks, and different names for all those, but it's also just like a different quality. So in America, there's definitely a lot of like sweeter drinks and things like that, a lot of flavors, but in Australia, I think more than anything, they focus really strictly on espresso and making sure that's really, really good. With coffee, I think my biggest thing I'm noticing is just like, it's just taken very seriously here in a very different way than it is in America. It's pretty insane, the quality and the standard for coffee here. Number four is the convenience. This is something that is really tough probably for any country you go to that's not America. America is just so, everything's so convenient, everything's so fast-paced. Gotta have it now, gotta have it yesterday. There's so many things that have been fast-tracked, like Amazon Prime and fast food, quick free shipping, and like all that stuff is like so streamlined so that the consumer can get it as quick as they want it. I think you find a lot of Aussies eating at local places more often, and also cooking at home probably more often than Americans do. There's not that consumer market like there is in America. There is one, but it's not the same. The last one on this list is just diversity. That's just something I'm getting used to in Sydney specifically. So if you're in another part of Australia, it's probably not as prominent, but like Sydney is so diverse. The statistic I heard past week was pretty crazy. It's like 49% of Australians are not born here. So 49 of people that live in Australia were not born here. And in America, that's 18% of people living in America were not born there. Pretty significant difference in that. So that means that it's pretty diverse. There's a lot of different cultures. There's a lot of different people. There's a lot of different looking people in the whole country. And it's really a lot to get used to, especially because I'm coming from North Carolina, which is, I would say, is not a diverse state at all. So coming from there, coming here, it's just getting to see all the different kinds of culture is pretty cool. All these things compiled has been a lot to get used to, but these are, most of the things I'm noticing have been things that are really, really cool to experience and get to enjoy. Thanks for watching.